Lay on down and I hit the lights. Close my eyes on a quiet night. I feel a dream and I sleep until I hear little drops on my windowsill.
Hello my friend, my name is John Stambaugh, and today I'm gonna start an internet fight. I'm just kidding, I don't plan on starting any fights at all, but my heart behind this video is towards beginners and towards people who are unhappy with their footage right now. In the video, YouTube, internet world, it seems like everyone says you have to shoot log, or log is definitely always better if you want high quality video. And I get a lot of comments about the way that my videos look, the colors that I'm able to achieve, and I'm not shooting log almost ever. And there is a reason for that. But before you go to the comments, hear me out, and I'm gonna try and keep this as concise as possible, but stick with me. I'm going to have examples. I have example footage that I've pulled together, but let's just have a conversation. So you get on the internet and you start researching how to use your camera, and right away you learn that you're supposed to put your camera in 24 frames per second and you're supposed to use log video recording because you have more dynamic range and you get to decide your colors later and it's more flexible and you can, do a really good color grade on it and all of these sorts of things. And I totally get all of that. There are a lot of pros to log. I would say color matching your footage, having access to advanced color grading options, learning how to do advanced color grading in case you ever want to upgrade to cinema style cameras where you'll definitely want to be using all of the data that you can get, as well as little bits of dynamic range increase. Those are definitely pros to working with log. But there are cons as well, especially for people who are newer to color grading or who are newer to video in general. And I don't think that that gets talked about because instead everyone says you need to shoot log right away. So today I am going to be telling you why I shoot classic chrome. So this video is not a prescription for how everyone ought to shoot, how everyone should be doing something or another thing. This is about why I shoot in classic chrome almost all the time and why I am really happy with it and why I think more people could probably be using it than are probably using F-Log right now. I think it's important to say that I have a lot of experience with F-Log, and this is by no means me trying to say that you shouldn't be using it. I used F-Log exclusively for about 6 months in order to make my complete F-Log guide video. You can go watch that. It is 40 minutes long and it is painstakingly detailed. And I created a creative LUT out of that video and I think it's really beautiful. I like the way it ended up. My friend Evan Schneider with LUTco has some great creative LUTs as well as conversion LUTs, and that's the one I didn't make. So I definitely recommend checking those out. And he and I have had a lot of conversations about log. Anyway, the point in this is that I have a lot of experience with both log and classic chrome. And the footage I'm going to show you is, I think, a perfect demonstration to answer the question of why do I almost always use classic chrome. So I'm going to dive in, just go straight to the footage and walk through and talk through kind of what I see and why I almost always decide to use Rec. 709 Classic Chrome. So just to give you a basic overview before we get going, I have my waveform pulled up down here, and all of these clips are already placed next to their pairs, and the order is always going to be F-Log and then Classic Chrome. So the second clip is always going to be Classic Chrome, so I'll close my clips here. And what I have laid out is clips that are almost all in, unique settings, scenarios, different lighting situations, different times of day and things like that, so that I can kind of show, why it is that I make the decisions that I do. As for color, all I've done here is pretty much matched the footage with an F-Log conversion from my friend Evan, as well as kind of just slightly editing the classic chrome to match closer to the natural look that came with the conversion LUT. So anyway, let's go ahead and just start here. We have a somewhat dynamic situation, and you can see that they perform pretty much the exact same. If you look at the waveform as we go along, there's a little bit more like color separation going on here, but in terms of dynamic range and real difference, this may be just a difference in saturation levels here almost. So not a huge difference. And then this clip is a great example of where F-Log is going to really stand out. Even though they are composed differently and they weren't shot for the same reasoning, you can still see here that F-Log has a bunch of data up here in this highlight range that is still all captured, and it smoothly rolls off. That's great. This wasn't shot the same way, so it's not a perfect comparison, but you can see that the highlight roll off is not perfect down here, and there is something to be desired. So this is a great example of a scenario where, just by a tiny little increase, I would pick F-Log here, but maybe not if my project was turning around really quickly. This scene here is hardly dynamic at all, and this is a great example of showing like why I probably wouldn't go through the work of F-Log to end up with such a similar result on these two images here. And then we have shot at lower light, and this is, I would say F-Log is still holding up really well at this time, but they end up looking pretty much the same. This one is another example where F-Log really shines. It retains a lot of this ocean here where the sun is reflecting, but you can see that there's a clipping happening on the classic chrome footage. But this is where I would start talking about what's practical, because really, do I need that detail in the ocean? Not so much. It's not really my subject, and I'm not really losing anything by it. But we move on. This is a very high dynamic scene, and I would say classic chrome held up really well here. So this right here is classic chrome with very little tweaking, and it looks awesome to me. And then this scene here, pretty flat, normal. Again, why go through the extra work for me? Same thing here. This scene, very similar again. The result almost the exact same. And then let's see, these are very, very high dynamic range situations. And I'm going to turn off the color grade here so that you can see. I probably could have exposed this F-Log a bit lower, but if I had done that, I maybe would have started to introduce noise, because unfortunately, all log profiles, but F-Log gets noisy. But this right here is my classic chrome straight out of camera, and you would think maybe all that detail is lost, but I'm able to pull it back in here. And this is actually using my F-Log LUT. This is my creative F-Log LUT, and then this is my classic chrome LUT, and the end result is really, really similar, and that was my goal in matching them. But anyway, yeah, you can tell just how much dynamic range is going on here in these scenes, and I personally think classic chrome is holding up really, really well. And I actually, funny thing, I actually made a mistake and shot these in 8-bit. So you can see these are H.264 files compared to everything else being H.265, and that was a mistake. So this is 8-bit footage, and it is holding up extremely well to a color grade as well as a high dynamic range scenario. So again, these are just some great examples, I think, of how well Classic Chrome holds up against F-Log. And here is a great example of where I think Classic Chrome surpasses F-Log. And that is, as soon as the light gets really dark, then I think it's important to be shooting Rec 709, pick your own profile. But F-Log just gets so noisy that it turns really soft in the image. And so I think the Classic Chrome, shot here holds up significantly better. And then again, some dark scenes here. I think they both look great. Same here, daytime, perfectly bright outside. They both look awesome. And then these shots, this is another example here where, Classic Chrome holds up a little bit because it retains these windows, I guess, but that's not really detail that I want, and I'm not really looking to preserve that detail in the image. So, I'm not too concerned about having lost it with the Classic Chrome, but, maybe the highlight roll-off is better, and I'll take that, I guess. But, again, here is a great example of where, the minor increase, is not maybe worth the sacrifice. But this is a very, high dynamic range situation. And I would say, ungraded, you would think that the F-Log is going to preserve a lot more. But once it's graded, you're able to get pretty much the same image out of both shots when exposed properly. And then same here. This is Classic Chrome, and I think that would surprise a lot of people because, how much detail is maintained out on a bright sunny street, and you can still see the suit inside. So I think this is a perfect example of where Classic Chrome proves its strength as having not that much less dynamic range. So this video was just me showing why I use Classic Chrome. I hope that this video footage here was like good evidence for you. In short, I get almost all the same quality out of Classic Chrome that I do out of log footage without having to go through any of the extra workflow. And it's not that much extra workflow, but it's just a little bit, and I just don't need that little bit of increase in quality or benefit. And so if it's worth it for you, then that's awesome. Keep shooting log, keep using F-Log. I love F-Log. I think it's really beautiful. You should check out my creative LUT for F-Log. But otherwise, if you're a beginner or if you're someone who is struggling with log or is not happy with the image you're getting, then I really encourage you to try Classic Chrome or Eterna. Go back to the basics, use a Rec 709 profile, expose it well, light it well, learn to color grade, and practice a lot, because I think you can get a really beautiful image out of Classic Chrome or Rec 709 profiles. So anyway, if you found this video helpful, please do like, subscribe, comment, do all the YouTube things, because it actually does help as this channel grows, and it's been a lot of fun to help people out. So thank you for watching. It means a lot to me, and I'll talk to you later.
I'd so comforting.